You're listening to the winning literary show, Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio, live with host Denise Turney, author of the books Long Walk-Up, Portia, Love Pour Over Me, Spiral, Love Has Many Faces, and Rosetta's Great Hope. Turn up your dial and get ready for a blast of feature author interviews, 411 on book festivals, writing conferences, and so much more. Ready? Let's go.
Good morning out there in Blog Talk Radio, Rainbow Soul, iTunes. I could go on and on where so many people tune into Off the Shelf, and our numbers are climbing week after week. We are headed into 15 years on the radio. It is hard to believe, and we have an awesome guest on deck for you this morning. But before I begin, I want to leave this thought with you. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. This is the day after Valentine's Day. I hope that whether you are in a relationship, well, we all in relationships. We're in a relationship with ourselves, our creator, our neighbors, colleagues, family members. There's nobody alive without a family member. We are all constantly in relationships. So I hope that yesterday you focused on love, which is something we should do every day, but just really take time to think about it, not just in romantic ways. And that way you're guaranteed to have a wonderful Valentine's Day. So this is the day after Valentine's Day. So I want to welcome you guys to February the 15th. Hello out there to our loyal listeners who've been riding with us for 15 years. But if this is your first time coming over to Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio, I just want to welcome you, and I want to tell you that you are absolutely listening to the winning book radio show, Off the Shelf. And there's still time. There's still time before we bring this guest on live. There is still time for you to tell your colleagues, your neighbors, your friends, your family members, book lovers everywhere, and particularly for this special guest, people you know who are struggling with money issues, people you know who might be struggling with financial issues. I know a lot of folks are happy that it's tax time, especially if they're expecting a refund. If they're not expecting a refund, they're probably feeling the opposite. But if they're expecting a good refund, maybe $2,000, $3,000, can get a new car, can get that new TV, can go and get that vacation plan. They are so excited. But there is a way to manage your money so you don't have to wait for a refund to do what it is you want to do. And you stopped at the right place today to get some of those tips. But even before we introduce you to this guest, I got to ask you, how good of a mystery sleuth are you? Are you the one that goes into the movie theater? Are you the one that watches TV shows and reads books? And you're not just reading to enjoy it or watch the movie for enjoying it. You're trying to figure out who did it and who did every little thing, not just a big thing, but every little thing before it's revealed. Are you one of those people? I know I like that. If you are one of those and you're like, I figured it out before they said who did it, I encourage you to get a copy of Love Over Me, because there is a mystery tucked in this book that if you figure it out before you get to the end, I would really be surprised. But that's not all you get when you get Love Pour Over Me. When you get Love Pour Over Me, you get a soulmate relationship that is not smooth and easy, but is so meant to be. And it helps these two people to awaken. It's so meant to be, but the struggles. And then I love the friendship between these four guys who meet in college. One of them goes on to the NFL. Another one's headed for the Olympics. I mean, they are all doing well. They're coming from different parts of the world, Italy, some in the United States, other countries, but they create this bond that lasts a lifetime. And then there's a complicated father-son relationship, and it impacts the key character in his soulmate relationship, not so much with his friends, but other relationships that he has. If you like romance, but realistic romance, not sappy romance, and you value relationships, if relationships really at their core mean a lot to you, and you love a good mystery, stop what you're doing and get a copy of Love Pour Over Me. You can get it in print or in ebook. Please go get a copy of Love Pour Over Me and let me know how you enjoyed the book. And now let us go and meet our very special off-the-shelf guest. I'm excited. It is the new year. A lot of people made their promises to themselves. Promises or resolutions. They are going to get the money right this year. They're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. They're tired of taking jobs they really don't want because they need the extra money. They're tired of working 80 hours a week. You stopped at the right spot. Now, our special off-the-shelf guest this morning is Karen Ford. Karen is passionate about helping you achieve financial independence. She doesn't want to see you struggling financially or living in debt. She is a motivational speaker and a master financial coach. We're going to find out more about these things as we go into today's interview. Now, Karen also works as an administrator and elder at Faith Church International. And you would think, what is she even concerned about money for? But there is so much freedom when you get your money right. She is a wife and mother of 3 children, and she is also the author of the books You Can Do It, Money Nuggets, 31 Days to Greater Understanding of Money and Money Matters. You can discover more about Karen at KarenFord.org, and that's KarenFord.org. 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 And, of course, you can absolutely learn more about Karen and her books and her works right here. Just keep listening to Off the Shelf. We are honored to have Karen join us this morning, and I hope I pick up the right line. We're honored to have Karen join us this morning. Welcome to Off the Shelf, Karen.
Hey there. Good morning to you, Denise. So glad to be on here with you.
Oh, this is a perfect thank you for your time. This is a perfect topic. Early in the year, we are still in February. There's still time to hopefully maybe somebody will hear something on today's show that is for them, or they pass along to somebody who can listen to the show once it finishes streaming in the archives. It might save them thousands of dollars. It might keep somebody from staying up at night trying to figure out how am I going to pay that bill. But before we get to that, Karen, every guest on Off the Shelf, I ask about the same first 4 to 5 questions so our listeners can get a little intro on our guests before we launch into talking about their books. So to kick it off, Karen, can you please tell Off the Shelf listeners where you grew up and what life was like for you growing up?
Oh, sure. I grew up in Fairmont, West Virginia, and I am one of 7 children. So both my mom and dad were hardworking people before they retired. And I'm so thankful for how they raised us because we didn't have, you know, all of the bells and whistles that other children did because there were so many of us. However, they made sure there was always food on the table, that we were clothed and, you know, had things that we desired, but we didn't get everything that we wanted, which that's perfectly okay because that actually causes you to appreciate things when you work hard for them and earn them. And so that's what life was like growing up in our family. I'm one of 7 kids. We lived in a 4-bedroom house, and there was 1 bathroom. They didn't get a second bathroom put in until most of us were out of the house.
Oh, yeah, and I bet y'all said, oh, now, you know you're grown, and your parents talking about money. They have more money. They don't have to feed 7 kids. Do you think growing up in a family, so a total of 9 people, do you think that sort of kind of led you toward the money matters down that path?
I think so. Maybe I didn't recognize it early on because I have a history of being a registered nurse. However, I enjoy working with money, earning money, helping other people do the same and get control of their money. But, you know, to be honest with you, my mom and my dad taught us, you know, when you get paid, you don't just go spend all of it. You have to save some, you have to give some, you know, and they taught us at an early age, this is not a free ride. You know, you're a part of this house. You're a part of this family, so everyone is going to have chores to do. And a lot of the chores we did not get paid for. We did not have an allowance. And so they taught us early on, if you're going to do anything in life, you know, there's no free ride. You've got to earn it. And so I'm so very grateful for that today, because I don't always see that in today's culture and society, you know, which we can talk about that. But,
and, you know, I wanted to ask you as well, when you were you maybe your parents, you know, growing up with 7 and the way they raised you, and I had to do chores too, I think that was common back then. And sometimes you got an allowance, and sometimes it was just these are things that you have to do to help the family as a whole. But when you were a little girl, Karen, and you looked out at the world, what did you say, when I grow up, I want to be?
Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a nurse. That was something that I always desired to become. I wanted to help people, and I still am helping people, but just not as a nurse. I look at it like this. I look at it, Denise, like as a nurse, I helped people get healthy physically, and now as a master financial coach, I help people get healthy financially. So I'm still helping people. It's just in a different way. Yeah.
I wanted to be a nurse or a teacher. I heard a lot of young girls when I was growing up. Now, how did you get started working in the ministry?
Well, it's the same church that I attend, and there's an administrative gift, you know, that I have, and my pastor had recognized that, and I started volunteering some in the office, and before you know it, I was hired. And I just kind of slid right into it, to be honest with you. And then he also had noticed that I enjoy numbers. I enjoy working with money and making it grow. And he recommended that I go and get more training in that arena. So I did. And so I became a master financial coach, and I actually don't look back, actually. I look back as being a nurse as something I thoroughly enjoyed, but they changed a lot of things in the hospital. You know, a lot of times they use a lot more computers now, and they had told us it would help speed things up so that we would have more time with our patients and patient care, but I did not find that personally true for myself. I don't know if it's because I'm older or what, but I felt like I was spending more time on the computer and documenting and charting than I was actually spending time with the patients. And you know, I'm very satisfied and happy in the position that I'm in. I enjoy administrating, and I also enjoy helping people get control of their money. So, yeah.
How long, I'm just curious, this wasn't a question I planned on asking you, but how long were you a nurse, and how long have you been working as a financial coach?
Well, I started out as a nurse's aide years ago, and I worked as a licensed practical nurse, a LPN, for I think 10 years. And then while I was an LPN, I became a registered nurse, and I worked as a registered nurse for 8 or 9 years. And I've been in the position that I've been right now 8 years. So, yeah, no, I take that back. I've been in my position almost 10 years, yes.
Oh, so you did nursing a long time and then finance. So this is a new term for me, and it might be for our other off-the-shelf listeners. What is a master financial coach? What does a master financial coach do?
A master financial coach guides people into the money-related arena. For example, it's kind of like I have a magnifying glass, and it's obvious to me some areas that need to adjust in that person's life regarding money. I teach people how to budget properly. Some people budget, but they don't do it properly. I give steps to how to demolish debt so that you can get out of debt more quickly than anticipated. I also coach people into building wealth, whether that's with IRAs, 401ks, as well as, entrepreneurship. Do you want to start a business? What's that going to look like? As well as real estate investing and stocks. I do all of the above. So,
you know what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of information out here. Maybe because I've worked at financial services firms. To me, it just seems like it's everywhere, but maybe it really isn't. When you said teaching people budgeting, and that's can you give a tip? So before we move on, an early tip. When I always was taught to budget, you put down what are all your debts, what are your recurring debts, and what debts would you have to pay? Like you either have to sell your house or you have to keep paying the mortgage, or you're gonna be put out in the street. Same thing with a auto loan. But like cable TV, you could just shut that off tomorrow, and you just so there's different types of debt. Is that what you teach people? And then what is your income? Where's all your money coming in? And then how can you to get it either to increase your income or lower your debt? What are some things that people think they're getting right when it comes to a budget that actually may be hurting themselves?
Well, some people feel like they're doing well with their budget because they pay a credit card payment every month. And the ultimate goal is not to have a bunch of credit cards, because each credit card surely, charges interest. So you're going to end up paying more for those items that you charged on the credit card. Another scenario is people feel like they do really well with budgeting because they go out to eat once a month. And that's certainly okay, but how much are you spending on that? Someone said that they thought they were doing well with their satellite cable, for their TV, and they had 9 TVs in their house. Well, they have a box attached to each one of those TVs, and it's just 3 people in the house. So I look at the whole picture. I look at, what do we need to adjust? By far, most people don't like to change. They would prefer to adjust rather than change. So I use the word adjust, even though it pretty much means the same thing. People, by nature of habit, don't like to change. So I look at what income do they have coming in? Is any money going out before you get your paycheck? Are you investing a lot, in a employer-related 401k? Now, I am all for investing and preparing for retirement, absolutely. However, how much are you putting in that if you have, X amount of debt that you're needing to pay off? So my goal is to get the debt demolished so that you have more money in your hands to invest properly.
Smart. I always tell myself try to keep my debt as close to zero as I can. Now, you said you did some trainings. What was it? Did you have to, the Master Financial Coach, is that like a 2-year training program? Do you have to get licensed for that and then keep your licenses active? How do you become a Master Financial Coach and stay active in it?
It's not a license. It's a certification. And it was actually, I did a lot of reading and studying beforehand, and then it was a week-long training. And by the time that week-long training was done, we were certified into being a Master Financial Coach. And then what I've done is I have continually stayed on the top of my game in the area of money, constantly studying, reading, and learning, because money typically doesn't change. What happens is it changes and it does things when it's placed in people's hands. So, money, whether it's a euro, a peso, or a dollar, the value of it may change over a period of time according to how the economy is going. However, it doesn't change. It changes in the hands of the people that hold it and possess it.
Interesting. Now, when did you start writing on Money Matters?
I wrote that. I'm trying to remember exactly when that was published. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe that was published a couple of years ago, in 2018, I believe. And so, yeah, it was in 2018. My first book I wrote in 2017, and then I wrote book number 2 and number 3 in 2018, and book number 4 in 2019. And
so
I didn't really. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I didn't really set out to write books, to be honest with you, but I feel like, I'm one person, and books can go worldwide. So it was a win-win situation, because even though I might not be able to be physically somewhere to teach people, my books can be.
Now, did you, so you became a master financial coach. Were you doing one-on-one counseling sessions with people, and did you see any glaring, repetitive issues that kept coming up with different people that you were coaching that you said, wow, this is a reason I captured in a book to try to help as many people as I can? And if that was the case, could you share 2 to 3 things that you saw that just kept coming up?
Actually, I can tell you the number one thing that people told me when they did not know how to handle their money. I discovered that most of the people that I have coached did not know how to budget. And that's across the board. I've coached people from the age of 18 all the way up to 72. And the common denominator among all of them was, I don't know how to budget. No one ever taught me. And so it's starting at square one, and certainly we're never too old to learn anything. And I have compassion for people on that because of varying reasons. Maybe their parents didn't take the time to teach them how to budget. Maybe the parents themselves didn't know how to budget. I've coached many widows that their mate actually took care of all the finances and the paying of the bills. And so when he passed before she did, and she had not a clue how to handle the money. So now she's not only dealing with grief at the loss of her husband, but now it's overwhelming to her because she doesn't know the state of their finances. She's having to pay bills that she'd never had to pay before because he took care of them. So I'd say the number one thing across the board was not knowing how to budget.
That is so common with women who either are divorced or the husband passes. Because some men just either they don't want their wife to see. I don't know. Sometimes maybe it makes them feel more powerful. The one who's managing the money has the power, and so they may feel more powerful that way. I don't understand that. Even some men who struggle with money, their wife never sees the bills. They do it all. So then when they pass, she's got to dig through all this and deal with it all, every bit of it. So it could be in that way harmful to the wife. It's not like if you love your wife, don't hide the bills. Let her know what's out there and not try to make yourself look perfect or so powerful that you could work together as a team on that. But can you share a synopsis for Money Matters with us?
The synopsis for Money Matters, I titled it Money Matters for 2 reasons, because money does matter. I mean, let's face it, we have to have money to live, and so money does matter. But I also titled it Money Matters because that book discusses the matters surrounding money, all the way from budgeting. How are we supposed to budget and take control of our money? And that's one of the number one ways to take control of your money is to budget. I define budget as you're telling your money what you want it to do instead of wondering where it went. And many people that I have coached or talked with, I say, do you ever look at your W-2? You're getting ready for tax time, and when you look at that W-2 and see the total income, do you look at that and are amazed and shocked and think, what happened to all that money that I made? And if they say yes, then I say, you don't budget, do you? And they say, no, I don't. And so a budget is you're in the driver's seat with your money. You're in control of your money. And people that don't budget don't have control of their money. Have you ever had money in your wallet, and at the end of the week you look in your wallet and you think, wow, what happened to all that money that was in my wallet? And you don't even remember where you spent it. And that's because we're not budgeting properly. So that book covers budgeting. It also talks about mindset and how are we supposed to think about money. And I heard someone say this, and I apologize, I don't know who I'm quoting, but thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits. So, and habits become a way of life. So do we keep saying and having self-talk saying, well, I'll never get out of debt. I'll never get out of debt. We need to stop that conversation, because everything within your person is going to believe what you're saying. Therefore, you're always going to be never out of debt. When we can change our way of thinking and change our thoughts, we end up changing our words, changing our actions, changing our habits, and changing the way we live. So if we can change our words to, oh, it's not that hard to get out of debt. It's not going to be hard at all to get out of debt. And I'm a wealth builder. And I know it almost sounds like it's ridiculous to say that, but words are very powerful. And so when we start saying words like that, then everything within our being, everything within our person is going to move towards that.
It's funny, when we think something sounds absurd, like I'm a wealth builder, when we were born, the slate was clean. So something got written on the slate to make I'm a wealth builder sound ridiculous. If you were born hearing that, see here, I'm poor, would sound ridiculous. So it's just something, a mindset that we've gotten used to, and you're just saying, help yourself start to move in another direction. The slate was clean when you were born. So it only sounds absurd because you've already written something on the slate that's the opposite. Just start moving in a different direction, and maybe even get a master financial coach if you still need help coming out of debt. I have to, you're talking about mindset, so I have to ask you this. And this is from going to church, and I'm telling you, I've seen so many people who are religious fall into this. That like things are supposed to magically happen. And I can give you an example. I can remember when I was a church secretary, somebody got up and they were asking the pastor to go visit someone and pray for him, and he said, okay, what's going on? And they said they thought he was getting depressed because he didn't have a job. He had got laid off. So the pastor went to visit him, and he asked him, as they're talking, where have you applied? And maybe I know some of the people where you've applied, and I can put in a good word for you. He said, I haven't put in any applications. I'm just waiting on God to bring me a job. So this is recent. This is like just a couple of years ago, this magical thinking that somehow the money is just going to magically appear and magically work out. Have you found this magical thinking that people just say, I'll just pray about it? They'll do whatever with their money, be late paying their bills, maybe not paying their bills. I'll pray about it, and it's just going to automatically work out. This is something I just got to talk about. Have you seen that? Have you seen that with anybody you've worked with?
To be honest with you, I have. And, and I know that maybe some of the listeners are not, Christian or religious in that way, but some folks that are, we can't really play the blame game and sit back and say, well, I have all these bills, but I'm just going to wait on God to help me pay them or wait on God to take care of them. Well, I understand that. I do. But if we have a job and if we made the debt, then it's ultimately our responsibility to take care of those debts and pay those debts. Now, God will help us come alongside and help us get out of debt, help us build wealth, and help us do the things that we needed to do monetarily, but we have to cooperate with them. I gave a illustration one time. God gave man work to do. He gave Adam and Eve a job to do in the garden. He said, tend the garden. So he did give us work to do, And that that happened before the fall ever happened. So, we can't just sit back and on our recliner and make all these bills online and then just expect, okay, well, God's just going to help me get out of debt. Well, yeah, he will help us, but we still have to cooperate with him. He wants us to be wise with our money, not frivolous. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want us to have things that we desire or need. That just simply means that he wants to help us, but we have to cooperate with them. We can't just go out and be spendthrifts and, charge up all different kinds of things and then, it doesn't work that way.
And Karen, I know so many people who are devout Christians who and it's almost sad. So what you're doing, it almost seems like some of this teaching needs to happen more in churches. Not asking people to give you money. You don't want to go in and do that. But I can only think of how many people their finances are so bad that they're troubled. And if they had an emergency, they've done studies that the average American doesn't have even $400 anywhere. If an emergency would have happened, and maybe you've been working 20, 30 years, has never even saved $400, which is almost astounding. So there is a lot of that magical thinking, I think, going on. It's just going to automatically work out. It's just going to work itself out. I don't know where this magician is, but I wish this magician. I don't know what this fairy sprinkling on his money does is. Now, can you tell us about?
There's a Bible verse that. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Karen.
There's a Bible verse that says the diligent prospers, and so what God is saying in that verse is He's going to cause prosperity to be in the hands of those that are going to be diligent, meaning they're working, they're doing their part, they're paying their bills, they're not sitting on their hands saying, okay, well I made all these bills, take care of it, God. No, He says that it's the diligent who will prosper. That's who He's going to prosper, are those that are wise with their money. Those that are wise with their money are those He's going to help out. So, there's Bible verse after Bible verse that talks about wisdom and wealth and how God wants to prosper those that are wise. And, I'm just thinking here, there's a parable of the talents where one guy was given 1 talent, one guy was given 2 talents, one guy was given 5 talents, and the master said, here you go, make some money with this, and I'll be back. Well, when he came back, the guy with 5 talents had doubled it. The guy with 2 talents doubled it, and he said, great job, this is great. The guy that had 1 talent, he called him a wicked servant because he said, well, I knew that you were a wicked, you're a hard taskmaster. And the master said, well, you should have at least invested it. You should have put it in the bank or something so I would have at least that. The guy that was given 1 talent had buried it. And so God doesn't want us to have the things that He's given us and just bury it, not use it, we're supposed to be wealth builders. We're supposed to, God places things in our hands. He places money in our hands, and He wants us to help. He wants to help it grow. And so I looked at that one day and I thought, it almost seemed kind of unfair that He gave one guy 5 talents, one guy 2 talents, and one guy 1 talent. Why did He only give the one guy 1 talent? I mean, it seems like He kind of got the short end of the stick in a way. But if you look at that passage, it says He gave to each one according to their ability. So if you're looking at other people, your neighbors, or you're comparing yourself to the Joneses and you're wondering why they have all of the things that maybe you want or whatever, sometimes it's because God is going to give to us according to our ability. Am I saying that you're destined to only have what you have right now? No. But what I'm saying is we need to increase our ability. Listen to podcasts like this. Read books. Teach yourself. Watch YouTube channels that are informative, where you can increase your learning capacity and increase your ability so that God can entrust you with giving you more.
Interesting. You know, I want to get even very clear steps that our off-the-shelf listeners, you know, the one you shared around the budgets, the example with the I want to say the satellite TV, having so many and you paying for each of those boxes. The same thing if you have like 3 or 4 different cable boxes, you're paying for each of those boxes every month. Or do you have a best cell phone deal? Is it time to look at a better cell phone deal? This stuff is not just going to work out on its own. That said, can you tell us about some of the topics? What would an off-the-shelf listener get or gain from reading 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money? What are some of the topics you cover in the book?
Oh, my. There's so many topics in that book. Now, the 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money is a devotional. It's a 31-day devotional. It takes you less than 4 minutes to read each day. And you can read it over and over each month, as you're choosing. You know, but I look at different topics as be like the ant. You know, there's Proverbs. Proverbs is such a book of wisdom in the Bible, and it talks a lot about money. And so be like the ant. How does the ant act? You know, are they working? Yes. You know, it just takes a little. You know, what's in your hand? What do you want? What's in your house? What are you saying? Contentment. You know, I've met so many people that are not content with what they have, and they're constantly complaining about the house they live in or the car they drive or, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, there's a Bible verse in Hebrews that says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. God's not saying that we can't have money. You know, he says that he gives us the power to get wealth. So why would he give us the power to get wealth if he didn't want us to have wealth? So he doesn't have a problem with us having money. He doesn't want money to have us. It shouldn't be a constant focus of our lives, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, how to make more money and be a lover of money. But to be satisfied, to be content with the home that we live in right now, to be content with the car that we're driving right now. Does that mean that you have to drive that car for the next 20 years? No. But be thankful and content with it right now until you're able to get the newer car. Be content in the home that you live in right now until you can move into the home of your dreams. But we're talking about contentment. We're talking about not necessarily borrowing money. You know, it says in Proverbs, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower becomes the lender's slave. Now, if we're going into debt for everything, then we're a slave to the debt. We're a slave to the lender, whether that's a car payment, whether that is a house payment, whether that's a credit card payment. Because now every month or every time you get paid, now we have to be mindful about making sure that we pay those specific debts. So, you know, that's 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money. That book is just so full and rich of various things. And then to give generously. Do we give to get, or do we give because we want to give, because that's in our heart to give? What's our motive behind it?
You know, and it's so funny when you think that people who are wealthy think about money all the time, but I think people who are in poverty think about it a lot too. So either way, it's constantly on your mind. But you have a lot of it, or you're constantly thinking about it because maybe, like you said, you haven't increased your ability, and now you constantly are just barely getting by. I've lived that way myself, and that is no fun. And so it's always on your mind. So you can't say that wealthy people are always thinking about it. You are too. It's constantly on your mind based on. So this master financial coach helping you come out of it so you can live your life without constantly thinking, how much does that cost? When am I going to have enough to pay the bill? Blah, 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 blah. Can I make it to the next paycheck? That is, to me, not freedom. Can you share in Money Nuggets a compilation of these empowering quotes about smart money management. Can you share a few money nuggets with our off-the-shelf listeners?
Happy to. I'll read one of the nuggets to you, if I may. When making a purchase, is it a want or a need? Is this life-sustaining or fulfillment of greed? If you buy all your wants, you will find much concern. You'll soon beg for your needs if you spend all you earn. And that is a nugget, because when you're getting ready to buy something, is it a want or a need? Am I saying that you can't buy what you want? No. But we need to check ourselves. Is it because am I buying this because it's a want or a need? Is it a life-sustaining or fulfillment of greed? So that causes people to think about what they're spending their money on. Another nugget is beg, borrow, or budget. The choice is yours.
Wow.
And then another nugget is, will you manage your money or will it remain? People who don't manage their money will soon wonder where it went.
Yeah. Wow. Worth paying attention to. And again, it's February. We are speaking with Karen Ford, and she is a master financial coach, the author of You Can Do It. We're going to talk about that book soon. Money Nuggets, 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money and Money Matters. And you can find Karen Ford online at KarenFord.org, KarenFord.org. Budgeting, not expecting things to automatically just work out, and just giving yourself that freedom to know that if something were to happen that you didn't even see coming, you would at least have $500 or $1,000, so you don't have to sweat, and then go and borrow even more money and go into even more debt because something came up that you didn't foresee. Living paycheck to paycheck is just not fun. Now, how soon after you finished Money Nuggets did you start writing You Can Do It?
I think if I remember correctly, I took a little bit of a break. I don't recall how little time of a break it was, but I have a passion for real estate. I really enjoy real estate investing, rentals, buying, flipping, or just buying and selling. And so, to be honest with you, I think I may have taken a few months break between Money Nuggets and You Can Do It. But yeah, You Can Do It actually came quickly because it just seemed like I had delved in the real estate investing in all of those realms. I've bought houses at auction. I bought houses on foreclosure. I had delved in rental properties, and I've bought and flipped, and then I've just bought and sold. So I've done all of that, and it just seemed natural to make a book available in that arena as well.
You went from nursing, master financial coach, to how long, what pulled you into I know real estate was really, really hot in the late 80s and the 90s, and in the early 2000s. What pulled your interest into real estate, and how long have you been buying and selling houses, renting homes, etc.?
Well, 12 years actually. My oldest brother actually has been a real estate investor for a number of years, probably close to 30 years, to be honest with you. And I saw how well he was doing with it. And long story short, I said, tell me about how you handle rental properties and that kind of thing. And that's actually where I started, was rental properties. So began buying properties and using them as rentals. And that's what sparked it. I saw his success with it, and I thought, I wonder if I can do it. And I spoke with my husband about it, and so he said, yeah, let's go for it. So we did. Yeah, that's what started that. I saw his success, and then I thought, well, can I do this? And yeah, that's what started that.
And when you look back, can you say that is it something you would say is worth it, especially when you buy a house at an auction, just like buying a car at an auction? You don't know what condition it's in. So you then you have to have those good, strong contractor relationships so the money is well spent. You're not taking advantage of it, and you earn a profit. When you look back over it all, I'm sure there were hits and misses and ups and downs and surprises, but is it something you could say from a financial, not just a personal, you enjoy it, but financially that you would say is very worth it?
Yes, I would say financially speaking, it is worth it. Am I saying there were never ups and downs? No. There were ups and downs, but it was always a learning experience. I mean, anytime you do something new, I find that you can really learn a lot. You learn what to do, what not to do, things to avoid, things to embrace, just different. There's so many things involved with real estate investing, but it's definitely a learning experience. And financially speaking, it is well worth it, yes.
So when we talk about risk involved in real estate investing, what are some of the key risks? Is renting a safer way to get involved versus buying houses, repairing them, fixing them up, and selling them?
It depends on where you live, and it depends on you as a person. How involved are you going to be in the rental process? Or are you going to have a property manager that you pay to screen the potential renters, to show the property, to sign the lease? Or are you going to be the hands-on individual who's going to do that? So it all depends on what you're wanting to do. Are you going to be an owner that nobody knows you're the owner, so to speak, and let the property manager handle all of that? As far as money goes, financially speaking, it depends on where you live, and really it's location. You know, a trailer maybe in Mississippi or Tennessee is not, maybe it's going to be a nominal value, but if you are out in California, in an expensive area, that same trailer can be worth millions of dollars. So, you know, if you're in Malibu. So it depends on location. You may be in a college or a university town where, you know, you can actually charge higher rent because you know that they're going to rent because of all the students coming. So looking at it from that point of view, it depends on where it is. And the same goes for buying and flipping. You have to know the market. You have to look at the neighborhoods where you're thinking about buying a house to flip. You don't want to buy a $50,000 home on foreclosure and put $50,000 in it to flip it at $150,000 if all the houses in that neighborhood sell for $80,000. It's not going to happen. You don't want to spend a lot of money and put money into a home where it may be a beautiful home. You may have gutted it and put everything brand new in that home. But if the neighborhood, if the market does not support your asking price, that house is going to sit on the market for a long period of time. And so you have to know and be diligent on knowing the market. You can actually talk with realtors in your area that can help you with that. You can read books on that, but know your market. Don't just jump in at the deep end of the pool without wading in it first, so to speak. You have to still do your due diligence. So to tell you renters or buying and flipping is better, it all depends on location. It depends on you as a person, and it depends on how involved you want to be in that process and location.
Now in the book, You Can Do It, do you offer tips on house flipping? I know some real estate companies will do, they do more realtor, but you'll see trainings, you hear them on the radio. Although house flipping, I haven't heard it be spoke about as much, but in the last few years. But do you offer tips on house flipping for anybody who might be interested in getting involved in that? In your book, You Can Do It.
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole chapter in that book on flipping, what to do, what not to do, how to look for that house that you're considering flipping, and what things to look for in that house. If you're wanting to flip, you want to look at big ticket items because is this house going to break your budget? So you have to look at the house and not get emotionally attached to it because you're not going to live in it if you're going to flip it. So you don't need to buy the highest end of everything that you purchase. What does the roof look like? Are you going to have to replace that roof? What's the foundation look like? You want to make sure that foundation is sound and solid. What about the central air? What about the heating system? What's the plumbing system look like? When I look at a house, I want to see if the roof is intact and if it looks good and doesn't need replaced. I look at the foundation, and then I look at the age of the hot water tank, the heating system, and the cooling system. All of those are big ticket items. Paint is easy. Carpet, flooring is easy. Gutting bathrooms and the kitchen, that's not too bad. But when you're talking about a roof on a 2,000 square foot house or heating system, cooling system, foundation, you want to look at all of that. And you have to think, go to the Home Depots or, these places to figure out the cost and also have a contractor look at the house with you as well so they can see and maybe look at things that maybe you're not looking at. They'll look in the basement. They'll look in the crawl space. They'll look at things that maybe you're not thinking about. And they can actually give you a pretty good estimate on what it's going to cost you. So when buying a house to flip it, you definitely want to go in with both eyes opened and know what you're wanting to do before you make the purchase.
And I'm sure, like you had your brother, so somebody working with someone who has done it before to some degree in the industry you're working in. That is also very, very helpful because they have a lot of firsthand experience and tips like you've been sharing today that they could share with you. Now, who are the readers? Because there's more than house flipping in the book. Who are the readers who you think could benefit the most from reading You Can Do It?
Oh, You Can Do It. The readers for You Can Do It would be those that are presently real estate investors but want to do more, or those who have never done any real estate investing but have a desire to enter it. This book would actually give you everything from rental properties to buying and selling, how to buy those properties, and flipping, and how to buy properties through auction and foreclosures. So I would say You Can Do It would be for readers that are presently real estate investors or have never done any real estate investing but want to.
Interesting. Never done any but they want to. Before we move on, how can real estate investors, you listed one way, going in the house, bringing in a contractor, looking at the big ticket items, seeing how old, like the heating and cooling system and the roof are, what are the age of these items. But what are some other ways that real estate investors can reduce their risk while investing in a property?
Reducing your risk is you definitely want a contractor with you when you go into the property and make a list of the things that are going to need replaced or repaired. Now, obviously, if it's a foreclosure, sometimes those utilities aren't on. You need to look at the electric box. You just need to look at everything and make a list of the things that are going to need repaired or replaced. That helps reduce the risk. Something else that would reduce the risk is know how much money you want to spend before you sign that contract. Some people end up buying a house and then they think it's only going to be so much money to do what they need to do to flip it, and it ends up costing them double because they didn't look at everything they needed to look at. So you know how much money you're wanting to invest in that property before you buy the property. What was it Grandma used to say? Don't buy a pig in a poke. Go look at that property and know what you're getting before you buy it.
And that's a part of the good money budgeting. Know what you're getting into. Know how much, whether it's with real estate or you're buying a car or a house or whatever you're doing, you're relocating with a job. How much really are you going to have to put out if you move from a small town to New York City or Hawaii or LA, where the cost of living is way up there? So those types of things. Now I want to talk. We have about 5-6 minutes left in today's show. Wanted to ask you. You said you never really set out to write a book. It was just something that you said you wanted to share what you had learned with a large number of people without having to do individual or group coaching sessions. And so a book looked like a perfect way to do that. But now that you are a writer, Karen, what writing process do you follow? So when you're starting to write a book, do you do outlines? How do you start pulling the book together?
Well, first of all, knowing what you want the book to entail. What do you want the content to be? So when I looked at You Can Do It, I knew I wanted to write a book on real estate investing. And then what I did was I actually listed the chapters, not necessarily the chapter titles, but knowing what the chapters should cover. So I sat down and thought, okay, what does this book need to cover? It needs to cover rental properties. It needs to cover leases. It needs to cover how to buy properties at auction, how to buy properties with foreclosure, how to buy properties with a realtor, and then flipping, knowing what to look at. So when I think about the writing process itself, I think about what does the book need to cover? What do I want it to cover? What do I want to write about? Okay, I want to write about money. Well, that's a broad topic, so how can I hewn that down? Well, I want to talk about our attitudes toward money and how powerful our words are. So there's a chapter on having the right mindset, because thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, and habits become a way of life, our character. So I have a chapter on that. I have a chapter on tithing. Is tithing for today? Do we need to tithe? Does God expect us to tithe? And what is it used for? So I have a chapter on tithing. I have a chapter on budgeting. A budget is you telling your money what you want it to do so you don't wonder what happened to it. And it's you in the driver's seat. So what does that budget need to look like? If your income is $5,000 a month, can you have a mortgage of $3,000 a month? No. How do I know that? Because a proper budget will tell you that. So I have a chapter on budgeting. And if, knowing society and culture today, there's a lot of people that have debt. So, I have a chapter on how do we demolish debt, and a chapter on how do we build wealth, the various ways of building wealth, and how do we do that. So that's what I do in the writing process. I figure out what the book needs to cover, and then I come up with the chapters, and then I write each chapter. So I do have to start with some type of an outline, some type of outline form, and then go from there. And does that mean it's written perfectly first time? No. I have to tweak it. I want to make sure it flows well and that it makes sense to the reader. So.
Oh, my goodness, you have shared so much. Very, very quickly, we got less than 2 minutes. Can you share 3 to 4 steps that you've taken that help get the word out about your books?
I'm sorry, you cut out?
Have you had, can you share very quickly maybe 3 steps that you found to be effective to get the word out about your book so your books find their readers?
Oh, absolutely. Set up book signings. A lot of times bookstores will allow you book signings. You have to do some phone calling and set that up with them. Also, social media is a great format to get out there, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and also YouTube. What are you an expert in? What did you write about? Maybe you need to set up a YouTube channel so that you can have more followers that way. And then being on podcasts like this with Denise so that she can help promote you and get the word out like that. And, of course, telling your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, anybody that you can talk with about it as well. And the local library is another great place to have a book signing.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. Last thing, where can Off the Shelf listeners get copies of your books?
You can go to Amazon.com or you can go to my website, KarenFord.org.
Okay, we have been delighted, and I'm telling you, if you came in midstream or near the end of the show, no worries, no worries. Once the show finishes streaming, you can go back and listen to it as many times as you like in the archives, and we have had the pleasure of speaking with Karen Ford, and Karen Ford is the author of the books You Can Do It, Money Nuggets, 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money and Money Matters, and she is online at KarenFord.org, KarenFord.org. Encourage you to support Karen. If you just listen to this show, you see how practical her approach is. I really think you would just listen to the show. You can glean something from it that can help you with your finances. So it's time, if you've been practicing magical thinking or digging your head in the sand, you can come out of any amount of debt that you have created and possibly come out sooner than you'd ever imagine and start building wealth. So I encourage you to go over and visit our website, KarenFord.org, or get a copy of one of our books. You can do it. Money Nuggets, 31 Days to a Greater Understanding of Money and Money Matters. As always, well, first I want to thank Karen for being here with us today, and I thank you, our listeners, whether it's your first time tuning in to Off the Shelf or you, one of our loyal listeners, been with us for 15 years. As I always tell you, you are amazing. You are incredible. Go out and create a fabulous day for yourself. And we'll come back here next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll have another awesome guest for you. Karen, I'll shoot you an email with a link to the show after it finishes streaming. Bye for now.
Thank you.